Hey guys, so to start this off, I want to say that I don't really condone smurfing. I think a lot of situations smurfing is never really the answer for what people are saying. But at the same time, I've had a lot of people that have told me, oh man, it's hard to carry in this particular rank because of blank. So I wanted to start a series where I show builds that are very good at carrying in specific ranks and certain heroes that might be pretty good at specific ranks as well. I've always thought that this was the meta Imperius build, but it's actually especially good while carrying in low ranks because in low ranks, people tend to draft a lot of melee, and they draft a lot of things that can't burst. And because they can't burst, this build can survive through a lot and do a ton of damage. They also tend to draft very low CC, making it to where if you play anything that doesn't get punished by CC, you're in a really good spot. Now, I start off this one by doing this where I just kind of sit AFK, soaking. They're missing soak while I'm getting soaked. They don't know if I'm sitting top lane or bottom lane right now, so they don't know which direction they should be going in. Now, that's not really a bad thing. We just need to figure it out. So, for example, they're missing soak down at bot lane because Asmon just pushed that out. They're missing soak up at top lane, and I'm not even picking up these globes because I don't need the health or mana, and I don't have a globe quest. To explain a little bit about how this build works in the playstyle that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to aggress on aggress on Varian before he has his level 4 and before he has his level 7. Level 4, when he gets Twin Blades, he'll actually be able to start beating me. The only challenge is that he won't have sustains. You'll see that I start playing a little bit more of an in and out playstyle. I go in when I have abilities, I get out when I don't have abilities. But before he has his level 4, you can pretty much bully him without even having that. It actually looks like he's going to be going for Smash instead, so I decided to just kind of take a step back, and I should be able to beat Smash Varian at any stage of the game. Twin Blades, on the other hand, will beat me after level 7, so it's all about playing in and out, where you go in with abilities, you get out so he doesn't sit there and heal off of you. Because we're going against a Diablo, I do go with the percent health damage, and honestly, I think this talent is just the best talent to go with against any standard team comp. What I mean by that is any team comp where you're going to be going against a group that has a beefy tank or a beefy frontline. If they have multiple frontliners, like in this case where they have a twin blade, or sorry, a colossal smash as well as a Diablo, then your build will be adjusted from there. You can see I didn't push that lane out at all. I went with the zoning tool instead. So I'm going to try to zone out his experience by not pushing and instead just freezing the lane. I need to be a little cautious because if you're fighting in the middle of a wave as Imperius, then your molten armor is hitting a variety of targets and not just heroes. And if it's hitting a variety of targets, not just heroes, that means that you're not going to be getting the most value out of it. Now, I like to back and go straight to the objectives. So I want to make sure that I can get to the objective at a decent pace, get over there and start helping out my team. Now, this is in low rank. This is on average bronze to silver. So you'll see the areas where this build is really, really good, and you'll see some areas where my team might not follow along to some of the plans that I make. And that's something that you kind of need to learn in lower ranks. People don't like to follow what you're doing. And that's perfectly fine, because in these ranks, there's enough mistakes made that you're gonna get your chance. In this case, I already used my fountain, so there's not much I can do other than just using my E, trying to hit it on heroes, and playing rather safe. Again, an in-and-out playstyle. I wait for people to use resources on my team, and then I jump in. And then once they have more resources available, then I jump out. And you keep doing that, and you need to do that with Imperius, you need to do that with Malthael, you need to do that with a wide variety of solo laners, where you can't just dive in and then sit in there until you die. Now, later on, this build will get like that, and that's the cool part about this build, and I'll show you that later as we get further into this game. You'll see some bizarre builds, primarily because this is kind of an odd rank, but that's not really anything I should be concerned about. I'm focusing primarily on just getting as much value as for my team as possible. Because I needed to back anyways before the objective, I knew that if I went with low health, I would have time to back before the next objective. To look at through my build really quickly, we do have Burn the Impure for the percent health. I explained my reasoning behind that. We have Sovereign Armor, which is going to allow us a lot of value in the late game. In the early game, it's not that valuable. 25 armor is not that great. In the late game, that 25 armor is going to be the difference between me taking a lot of damage or taking enough that I can heal through it. I should have checked first with my W. I guess when I'm in low ranks, I don't really play as well, and I decided to just sit there and take some damage. I do pick up Holy Fervor. In low ranks, you're going to need this talent so you can cover the soak that your team's going to end up missing out on. And usually before I charge in, I throw off my W to slow. I do my E for damage, and sometimes I'll save my Q to get out. But I primarily am going to be using my W to interrupt and slow while using my E to trigger most of my healing and my percent health damage. My Q is going to be mainly used as an escape until I get to the later levels where I get talents that enhance my Q. And other than that, we may end up giving up this objective, and I believe I tell my team to play safe. And then I head back in, and I'm a lot healthier at this point, so I could go in or I could stay out. It just really depends. We're still missing a couple people, so I might interrupt once, and when I see the Cassia is dead, I realize I just need to get out. So I head back up, and you'll see that I'm going for the macro value this game, which means that I'm going to be using my Holy Fervor and my W to clean up the lane quickly. Once the lane is cleaned up, and this is why this talent's so powerful too, is because when you wipe the wave, it allows it to where your Molten Armor is always just going to hit a single target. And if it's only hitting a single target, that means every time I attack him, I'm going to be breaking the Valorous brand, which is going to be doing 20% more damage, healing me, and doing 2.5% of his health. And now watch how quickly I go from being half health and him being at full health to seeing how I drop him down to about 30% health while getting to the point where I was higher than where I was when he initially jumped on me. Which is why I love these talents. I'm able to kill the solo laner because he's not really expecting the damage that I can do, while also getting a lot of value for my team. If we were to take a quick peek, looks like Asmodean's still beating me in experience contributed, but I'm still ahead of everyone else on the team, despite the fact that I've joined our team for every fight. I don't have any deaths. I have more kills, more assists, and I'm wherever we need to be every single time. And again, it's low rank. People don't really know if they can win trades yet, so they don't even try. I mean, they don't try to... They try the trade, but they don't really know. And so now I do have the Angelic Armaments. This is also very key for if you're trying to carry. Wrath allows you to pick up a target and make it to where your team can go to kill that target, but Angelic Armaments gives you the shield that allows you to get more time to attack the enemies. You can also pop it before you go in, making it to where you have a good chance of blowing up one target. As you saw right there, I popped it before I went in, no one wanted to attack me, and then I was able to get almost all of my strikes onto one target. In fights like this, you can do really, really well if the enemies don't focus you down because you heal so much off of these fights, especially after level 13 and into some of the later levels. You're going to see my tankiness is absolutely insane. In this particular build. Same thing, we try to get our damage off, get our percent damage. Unfortunately, I missed one auto attack there, which would have actually possibly killed that Diablo, but it's not a big deal. We'll fast forward just a tad. We'll get into some of the later levels. There's an objective down bot, so what am I doing again? I push out the wave, costing them one wave of soak up top, and then I'm also backing, so I'm going to be full health and full mana before the next objective happens. You can see every single objective is going about the same. I'm costing the enemy experience, I'm getting extra experience for my team, I'm joining my team for every single objective, and we get there on time. Now, we might start this off a little awkward, but I see a couple people in mid lane, so I know we could take this fight. I pop my ult so that I can play a little aggressive against this Tychus. Tychus ends up wasting all of his damage on my shield. I then waste all of my ult damage on someone that has Protect on them. But look at my health now. Between Lily and my extra healing that I have, I'm back almost at full. They're almost out of mana, and I can jump in doing a huge amount of burst damage, wiping out their entire team. So what I did there was I used a W, I used a Q, and I used an E to mark all three of those units while using a Holy Fervor so I could cleave on all three of them at the same time, making it really easy to clear these. Now, I called out for us to take a boss, and if we all would have gone to this boss immediately, we would have been able to get this boss down before the curse was really done anything. Asmodean ends up going down bot lane while we're all focusing up on this, and because of this, we end up losing boss and the fight that's about to happen here. Quite lovely. But not a big deal. We just know that in low ranks, you don't make any crazy calls. You focus primarily on what's easy to get and what's simple. And I think that's one of the things that I tend to forget when switching from my main account to an account that's on a lower rank. You need to focus primarily on getting the things that are easy and then going from there. In this case, if you see what I do first is I save my slow and I save my charge because I want to get as much damage off as possible before he actually starts running away. At the point he starts running away, I want to be able to chase on him. But for now, he's going to be standing still, and I'm going to be doing extra damage. I noticed that he has an extra healer, so I don't really want to be sitting there trying to outdamage his heals. It'll just be a waste of mana for me. Level 13, I pick up a talent called Heat of Battle. Increases the Molten Armor's healing against heroes by 2% for every 1% of health Imperius is missing. This means that the lower health you get, the more you're going to be healing, and not just that, but what happens a lot of times is if you want to use your angelic armaments during a fight, you can use it at about half health and then heal yourself back up to full before the shield drops, allowing this to be a great talent combination to keep yourself alive in later fights. That in combination with the fact that you're going to have increased armor makes you really, really just a beast to deal with, to be honest. Right here, I'm simply attacking the Diablo because I do have percent health damage, and I really don't think that he's that scary for me, and especially since I moved to the side where the breath couldn't hit me and another person. I then make a call for a boss. This one's a lot safer, so if Asmodan doesn't decide to join us on this boss, we're not going to be missing out on anything. But in this case, 3 people on my team decide not to join me, and I realize it's just going to be fruitless and take forever. When they finally decide to go for boss, I want to get 16s for our team, and I want to make sure that I'm prepped for the next objective. This talent is really key for carrying in low ranks. You get movement speed, you get attack speed, and this is a stacking buff based off of the amount of targets you hit. So like you saw earlier where I hit 3 different targets with my Q, and then I was able to drop all 3 of them, those 3 targets would increase my attack speed by 120%, making it to where I can melt through just about anyone. And this is where this build really comes online. And then at level 20, if you do happen to get there, you can pretty much stomp any team that has even a couple frontliners, making this an extremely good build for carrying in low ranks. So let's take a real quick peek at how these fights start playing out now that I'm level 16. So I can start channeling immediately. He's going to use a Q to interrupt. I'll immediately start channeling again. This is something that a lot of people don't do well enough. They try to reposition, they take a couple seconds, and they channel again. The longer it takes you to re-channel, the more cooldowns they're going to get back, and then they're going to be able to interrupt easier. That's why I immediately started channeling. I didn't even move, and guess what? I was able to get the next point. We fire off a W and a Q at the same time, applying 3 different types of debuffs, or 3 different Valorous brands to one target, instantly blow up the Rainer, slowing him, stunning him, everything that you need. Very, very easy. And the rest of these fights are pretty simple, to be honest. It kind of just shows how the build works after this point in the game. You really don't even need your entire team. Like, I've realized that Asmodan doesn't really like joining our team. Cassie is going in a build that's not very meta, so she's not going to be doing a lot of reliable damage during fights anyways. So a lot of the damage during this fights is going to come down to purely just me, and I don't really worry about that because in this particular build, it's really easy to just dominate in these crazy chaotic fights. So you'll see quite a few times where I just don't really care what the enemy team's doing because they don't have a lot of burst in these and they don't have a lot of coordination. So if one person attacks me and 2 people try to attack the rest of my team, I kill their entire team. If everyone attacks me but they don't CC me, I kill their entire team. And just watch. I mean, only one person's attacking me and I just melt through their entire team. I'm doing cleave, percent health damage, and I'm also healing for more than they can even do. The lasers are doing a lot, but watch this. I just jump right into their backline. Look at this attack speed that I get. Look at this healing that I'm doing. I'm literally getting attacked by 2 people on their team, but they don't have the burst. They don't have the CC. Because they don't have the burst or the CC, every time that they try to walk up, I pretty much just dive in on them, get the kills, and walk away. And I out-heal all their damage, and I just do way too much team fight damage. We saw at the start of that fight, I was able to hit 2 people with my spear and just melt down Diablo, melt down Varian, melt down Rainer. And then Rainer, Varian, and Tychus walked away, and I just immediately started channeling. Didn't waste any time. And now I'm trying not to make any crazy plays because, again, this is in low ranks. People don't really follow. So we're just going to try to win with the objective, and we're just going to try to win in these team fights. I stand in a position where it's easy for us to get whatever we need to, and if they cluster it all right here, I can hit a couple people with this charge and just wipe them out with a charge and a Holy Fervor. Looks like they don't end up trying to interrupt at all, allowing us to get a curse. I ping for us to go top lane. This is another thing that I would recommend doing in low ranks is try to make a plan. Don't get me wrong. Don't make risky plans, and watch carefully if your team's following. If your team's not following, don't go for it. Look at how much damage I do to a single person, by the way. Like, without even using an ult, I literally do 80% of his health in like 2 seconds, and I have all my abilities still available. And so I love that, how much damage you can do, just melting people down. I do pop my ult here because I thought we might be able to go for something. I do a good chunk of Tychus' health. There's not too much that can happen here. So I just charge on a couple people, use my increased attack speed, use my extra healing that I've got, and I just melt through this Diablo's health. I killed him through the healing that Morales was doing, and we take out the game right here. So it is a very, very strong build. You can see the amount of hero damage I do during team fights is absolutely insane. 7 kills, 9 assists, 1 death. I stayed second in experience contributed. I joined my team for every objective, for every point, and I was there still giving more experience than anyone on the enemy team. So this is kind of how you need to carry. You could see that 2 people on the team were almost never following any of the calls that I made, and that was irrelevant because when I jumped into those fights, I wiped the team every single time. It was super easy to do that, super easy to stay ahead. Now, can you always do this? No, but this at least shows you the playstyle of how to do this when you're fighting low-ranked teams. And if you do ever want to try to carry in your ranks, and Imperius was someone that you were thinking about, try this build out. The full build should be working pretty... Hold on, let me pull up the full build really quick. The goals behind the full build is to synergize off of a few talents. What you want to be doing is you are going to be trying to pop the Burn the Impure as many times as possible. 2.5% health is huge. So I like to apply that to a bunch of people and use Holy Fervor so I can break it on a bunch of people. That's 10% of up to maybe 3 or 4 people's health at the same time. Then I combine that with the increased attack speed of Celestial Swiftness so that I'm using my armor to apply it really fast. And as I'm applying it really fast, I'm breaking it really fast. So I can do, oftentimes when I'm attacking something like a Diablo, if I can spear 2 or 3 people at a time, I can do 5% of his health per second, including the fact that I'm also hitting him with Molten Armor and I'm hitting him with auto attacks. And Imperius' auto attacks hit pretty hard. So you can melt down a Diablo in like 5 seconds. And so it's a really powerful tool. Not just that, but if you combine it with Brand of the Solarian, where you no longer remove the Valorous brand, it's even more powerful. You jump on people, you're sweeping through a bunch of them, you're not removing the brand, and suddenly you just wipe out something like 10% of 4 people's health instantly before they can deal with it. And you can apply 3 or 4, because if you saw what I was doing when I was jumping in on 3 people, is I was firing off my W, my Q at the same time, and then when I jumped on them, I would activate my E. That would be 3 Valorous brands on each one, and then if you don't remove those 3 and you use your Holy Fervor, you are doing so much damage. It is absolutely insane. And not just the amount of damage you're doing, but the amount of healing that you're doing. So I can show you really quick how much healing this actually is. Depends if I have to log in or not, but we'll see. I believe I should have to log in. But I will show you guys one more time of just like how intense this actually can be and how much healing you can do in a very short duration. But again, like as far as Smurfs, like the only reason I'm doing it is for educational purposes. I really do not condone just playing Smurfs for the fun of it. I recommend instead just learning and improving on your main account and always be moving forward. I mean, queue times, even for the GM number 5 was talking about how he thought queue times were too short because he still was getting games with people much lower ranked than him. So essentially, this is what I want to show you really quick of how much healing is capable in this build if you go this thing, and how much damage is capable. So let me take a bunch of health here, and let me get rid of Malfurion. Okay, that should be good. So now just watch this really quick. Look how low I am, and now watch. Watch my health. Look at that. 4 swings, you go back to full health. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that incredible? That's how strong this build is. And the amount of damage that I did. Did you guys see how much damage that was too? We'll toggle cooldowns one more time. And just look at the DPS of this build. 2,300 DPS. 10,000 damage over 4 swings is insane. It's so much damage. This is one of the few heroes in the game that can legitimately 1v5 if the enemies don't have burst, if the enemies don't have CC, which in most low rank games they don't have either. But I recommend don't try to 1v5. Just wait for one person to go in. Wait for them to throw a couple abilities at your tank. Do this to them and wipe their entire team. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd like to see any more HOTS content, just feel free to check out my other videos.